My name is Beatrice Scholter. I'm the director of RECI. It's the Swiss Network for Education and International Cooperation. Nadine is here as well. She is, apart from co-facilitating the webinar today, she's also doing the technical magic stuff to explain to you how to use Zoom. She will put us in groups, and she's there also to help you with any technical issues. You can just write in the chat. You can use the chat also throughout the webinar today to ask your questions or make your comments. I would also like to welcome Clara, our interpreter. So we're doing today's webinar in English and Spanish. I hope you all found your channel so that you can follow the discussion. So an online RECI Open Space in OROS, that is a webinar of our network, which proposes different topics proposed by our member organizations. And the special thing about the OROS is that we don't just do presentations, we actually really try to have rich interaction, because here we have now 24 people with a lot of experience, with a lot of questions, with a lot of different perspectives. And the idea of the OROS is really to exchange and to learn from each other. And that's why today, for the first time, what we did a little bit different. We will not have two presentations today, but only one during the webinar, because one of the presentations introductions was already sent to you in a video. And why did we do that? To save time, to have more time to discuss together. And we're also going to use different interactive methodologies. We are trying some new stuff today, for example, with the hats. So for those who haven't got a hat yet, please fetch it somewhere. And then I think we can get started. And I would like to hand over the word to Madeleine Colbert, the project manager at Vivamos Mejor. She will introduce us to the topic, and I wish us all an interesting and lively discussion.
Hello, everybody. I would like to also warmly welcome you in the name of Vivamos Mejor, the organization who proposed today's topic. I know you have already received that link with the video to explain a little bit our psychosocial support approach. But since maybe not everybody had time to watch it, I will just shortly make a small resume of what the psychosocial support is. Or our approach. We have Vivamos Mejor has projects in 4 different countries in Latin America, in Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Colombia. And although the contexts are very different, the children and the youth that we work with, they are from marginalized families and from poor backgrounds, and that's what they all have in common. So they have very different issues in their lives, and I try to draw that up on a little slide here to show those different challenges that they have in their lives. Starting on the left with poverty, going clockwise, linked to malnutrition of children from early age on, violence within families, very difficult access to quality education, and also a hard time or very little job opportunities for young people. And to show that that problem, I drew this little guy with this very heavy bag, who's carrying all these this burden. So symbolizing the children and the youth in our projects who have a hard time to make progress, to go ahead in their developments because of that burden. Next, please. You can also imagine it like a scale that is in disbalance. On one side, you have the heavy burden with this worry bag, and on the other side, you have nothing to counterbalance it. This is the resilience scale that we use to show the psychosocial support, or the necessity for psychosocial support. Next, please. So what does this cause in the children and in the youth? They have all these stresses in their lives, and it's very hard for them to focus, to listen, to pay attention in school, what the teachers say, to go get ahead in their lives, because their minds are so occupied with problems and with challenges that it's very hard to be able to just focus on the smallest thing. It's like a wall that blocks them from learning. Next, please. So that's where the purpose of the psychosocial support comes in, to get that scale back into balance. We can't just make all the problems go away. We can't just resolve poverty within overnight and find or create 1,000 jobs. Of course, we can tackle problems, but we can't just make them go away. So what we try to do with the psychosocial support is to put this scale a bit more in balance, to give those children resources or show them the resources they have on their own, to bring the balance or the scale back into balance. And in our projects, we do that with 5 different elements. I will just go through them quickly, not give a lot of examples, because we will then afterwards hear the example from Colombia. So one of the elements is to create safe spaces, to create a safe environments where children can open up and don't feel scared and can develop their socio-emotional skills. Next. To create a structure in their lives, a daily routine that can be a fixed schedule in school, for example, or also after school activities, but something that they can orient on. Next. To strengthen their self-esteem. Many of these children and young people do not experience a lot of appreciation and love in their life because there's just no space for that. And so they first have to learn to love themselves, to discover their skills, the strengths that they have on their own, to be able to get ahead. Next. We strengthen their social network. We work always also with the parents. We do like schools for parents, or we sensitize them about positive education, but also link the children to health services, to school. Next. And last but not least, to create time for play, time for recreation, and to do it in a positive way with creative activities like theater or sports events. So that, last but not least. And we believe that when they have these resources, it's not like the bag is just gone, but the bag might be a little bit less heavy. And also the children, young people are stronger, so they have more resources to stem it in the air. So that's very shortly resumed the psychosocial support approach in our projects. Okay, well, we will now go ahead to the next part. I would like to welcome, voy a hacer eso en español para cambiar un poco el idioma.
I will do it in Spanish so I can change the language. I would like now to introduce Edilberto Garcia. He's a director of the Fundación Apoyar in Colombia. This is an organization that is co-part of Vivamos Mejor. Edilberto has been working for over 20 years in processes involving social and community development in Colombia, and he will share with us today how this psychosocial focus approach is implemented in Colombia projects. Welcome, Edilberto. You have the floor. We're going to share your slides. Good morning to everyone in Colombia and good afternoon to everyone in Switzerland. Thank you very much for providing me with this platform so I can share with you today what Fundación Apoyar does from a psychosocial support approach. Next, for our foundation, although we're working for main lines in the different projects where we are based, through the human development training, we implement the psychosocial support approach. And we do it based on flexible pedagogical models by new schools and popular education. Over 30 years since the Fundación Apoyar has been working on this, we have focused on the pedagogical models. And through this line, we've been able to implement the psychosocial approach. For us, this has become into an amazing strategy to provide support. Next, please. It is crucial to take into account the population that is part of the projects and the communities where we working, the farmers, ex-combatants, the victims of the armed conflicts in Colombia, vulnerable youth, diverse population, women who are heads of household, children, and migrants. That is to say, the population that we work with, this becomes fundamental. At the moment, we're not able to execute projects and reach these communities without taking into account the psychosocial approach in our programs. Next slide, please. That is why this approach has to be done in a comprehensive manner. It has to be an integral approach. We need to support the personal development, the social and community development, the family development as well. We cannot disassemble a family throughout this process. And also we need to create network development. This allows us to reach the purposes of identity, dignity, and empowerment. At the end of the day, this is our main goal. When we land on the psychosocial approach as a work strategy that we have, next slide, please. We find out that this approach has in its core the achievement of personal empowerment. So these processes are based on three main course axes: the psychosocial assistance, as it is, redefining life projects and strengthening of soft skills. In terms of psychosocial assistance, we work with a group of psychologists, social workers, and pedagogic professionals. We work with children and youth on emotional awareness, emotional conscience, and emotional autonomy. When we talk about life projects, we cannot just focus on individual life projects, but we also focus on family life projects. And this is what enables us to work on networks, support networks. This is something that we have not been able to reach with our youth. And strengthening these soft skills is a major topic when it comes to life skills and social abilities. This is the main strategy that we base our work on. And we base this in the work we do with the people who are involved in our projects. Next slide, please. We have been able to identify several major impacts. Firstly, this contributes to personal improvement, empowerment, and transformation of social realities or dynamics. In order to improve the living conditions of the participating populations and their family, we have realized that when a young person, a young woman within these processes, then this has an immediate impact, a positive impact in their family. In addition, it rebuilds the social fabric and strengthens soft skills for the integral development of the self. This has to do with all the youth that we link to the labor market, and they developed their abilities, their skills to be more competitive and to be able to land a job in the labor market. It also generates awareness and belonging to a community as legal entities, and it also allows us to strengthen and identify support networks and protective environments. So through strengthening and identifying these support networks and environments are key, because we are trying to achieve a major transformation. So these strengthening networks that are so weak, once they access our processes, they're able to improve them. Next slide, please. We have marked some major steps. This is not a linear process, but we do understand what it is we need to do. We have the preparatory stage where we identify the community, the population, and we conduct interviews, visits, we run several tests, and we can create a diagnosis based on that to understand what kind of status this group is in. And based on that diagnosis, we're able to identify general schemes in order to implement the training process. In general, we conduct training processes that last 1 year, both for community mothers, children, and young people in the youth. And in addition, we conduct the psychosocial orientation and we work on the life project. And on top of that, we conduct the evaluation and mentoring. This is a dynamic process, it's not linear. We have divided it into these main steps, but we can begin with the preparatory stage in order to identify cases that need to be referred to the psychologists and resort to certain institutions, because we don't have the institutional capacity sometimes to cover this. So we need to refer this to institutions that do have the skills that need to cover this. Once this is completed and the young people are in access to the labor market, sometimes we find some critical cases and we have to resort to the root activation, in which young people and women have to receive extra support from the EPS depending on the case. Next slide, please. There are several work methods that we have been able to improve. We conduct psychotechnical tests, some forecast tests. When the process begins, we also have a life project guidelines for the professional, the psychologist that is in charge of the process. They have a manual, they have a guideline. These are the main steps that have to be followed. And of course, they adapt to the environment, to the context. This is not a guideline that is strict. This depends obviously on the professional, their background, and their context. We have a booklet. We call it a life project booklet for youth, for young people. This is a deliverable. And during the development of the project, at the end of the process, we are able to create a resignified life project that obviously adapts to the conditions and the life of the person. We implement the methodology of the pause. This is something that we have adopted and adapted that has also been transferred from the J and Z. This has been implemented in different projects. We conduct home visits and the team is updated based on the different thematic updates. We also conduct family meetings, field trips, different interviews. Well, as you can see, we have a very broad range of methods and processes that enable this psychosocial approach. The main goal here is that it's dynamic. This is not psychosocial treatment with a strict or rigid professional, with a psychologist that listens to a patient just for 1 hour and that's it. No, this is not the way we work. We have a different way of working because we have a support strategy that can also be at a group level, but of course it can be conducted at an individual level as well, depending on the case. Next slide, please. We have identified some good practices. The development of skills through the strengthening of soft skills ensures that young people can adapt to the world of work, the labor market, and develop their social emotional skills. Madeleine's introduction allows us to understand what the burden these young people have to endure and how we can alleviate this burden and how we can help them adapt and compete in the labor market. And we need to understand their background, their reality, and also that they do have very good possibilities ahead. It also strengthens the support network and family ties. This is key. And we have also identified that not only the family bonds are there, some young people don't have family ties, but they do have a friends network. And this camaraderie that we know can help them to move towards this 1-year-long training process, for example. This is crucial to help young people and children to advance in these training processes. The psychosocial assistant causes long-term impacts, making the projects more sustainable. This is very clear with what we've seen through the young people and their training and the abilities that they are able to develop. the psychosocial approach facilitates the reestablishment of roots and different human rights. We are able to also resort to different institutions where we can refer the cases that we cannot cover. We're talking about the psychosocial approach that facilitates the activation of pathways and follow-up in special cases, as well as psychosocial approach promoting the resignification of life projects. Some of these people have been mistreated. Some of these people feel they don't have any further possibilities. So I believe that this approach, together with this process that we do in every single area, allows them to have a life project and to look into the future and feel that the life project is attainable. Next slide, please. Like everything, we have a lot of challenges. The establishment of concrete, short, medium and long-term goals for our youth. This requires a systematic line of work, the support of the professionals, the persistence of young people throughout the process. There's a lot of pressure, especially from their families, who put pressure on them because they have to contribute financially, for example, sometimes paying the bills, gas, phone bills. They have to start creating an income. And when they don't have this support, then they quit. They don't feel motivated. So for us, this has become a great challenge to overcome. The lack of reliable life projects, the low tolerance for failure. So of course, we have young people whose training is lacking of a lot of technical aspects to achieve or to be able to reach technical trainings like reading and writing. So this means that many of them quit because they feel that they don't have the necessary skills. So we need to work with them and support them and contain them. And of course, we also have to deal with the context of violence, war, conflict, and forced displacement that we experience in our country. And well, these are the populations that we're working with. As Madeleine explained, this is the burden, the heavy burden that they have to carry. We need to help them alleviate this burden. But unfortunately, this is a context that we haven't been able to change yet, and it will take some time to create other spaces. But for now, we're going to keep working with this population and within these contexts. And this is a great challenge, a big challenge that we have, and it is testing us and it's testing our entire team in the foundation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy I asked for this last round of Mad Tea Party, back to our rows, and also to close our today's discussions in the way that we started it, which is with ourselves and where we are and where we come from. Certainly always important in the kind of work that we do in helping children and adults around the world to get access to quality education. We are faced with different challenges of our partners, of the children, of the adults that are involved in our programs, and therefore all the more important to take care of ourselves as well and to help each other. And this is really also the mission of RECI, the Swiss Network for Education and International Cooperation. We are together as a network in order to learn from each other, to support each other, and also together with partners on the ground. I'm so happy we had so many participants from different countries. And I would like to thank you all for coming here, for participating, contributing, especially, of course, thank you to Edilberto for preparing this very interesting presentation, for being there as a resource person from the ground. Many thanks to Madeleine for facilitating this topic for OROS. Thank you very much to Clara, our interpreter, who helped us understand each other better. And a very big thank you to Nadine, as always, for preparing all the plan for today's OROS and for doing all this technical support in the background. It looks so easy. It went so smoothly. There's a lot of work behind, a lot of concentration. So you will receive the recordings of today's webinar and all the presentations and materials. And Nadine will also send you a little questionnaire for feedback to us so that we can constantly improve our OROS. Thank you for being here, and I wish you all a nice evening or a nice day, and hope to see you again.
And thank you, Beatrice, for the moderation. It got really smoothly because of you also, so thank you a lot. And thank you everyone to be here and with us and to be so active today in this webinar.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a good day.